Good afternoon, dear audience, and welcome to our first STEM Careers and Skills of the Future webinar. So today we are going to talk about STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and how STEM education can help inspire young people to pursue careers in those fields. So how can STEM education help inspire young people to pursue careers in those fields? And how can you as teacher help inspire the future generation of professionals working as scientists or engineers or other type of profile in the STEM industry? So basically, this is to answer this question that the STEM Alliance is proposing today's webinar, and it's part of our STEM Careers and Skills of the Future scheme of activities, where we have webinars as today, but we also have chat discussions, and we propose some career resources that can be used in schools. So today we will focus more particularly on careers in the petrochemical industry. And our aim with the session of today is to support teachers and other actors that are attending our webinar to inspire the future generation of professionals working in STEM careers. So our speakers of today are Paul Ruigt. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Sorry if the pronunciation is not good. You are category manager shipping and Barging Petrochemicals as part of SABIC, and Jochem Meijknecht and you are a commercial manager at LyondellBasell. But this is just to give you a hint, as I will tell you more about our two speakers after my brief introduction. And I want to highlight also the fact that this webinar has been organized in collaboration with the European Petrochemical Association, which is one of the premium partners of the STEM Alliance. So one of the main goals today is to inspire each other and exchange ideas, and to make sure that other teachers and other actors that are active in STEM education hear about STEM careers and skills of the future, and to reach out this large community in Europe and associated countries. I invite you to use our social media, as you can see here. So the main point of our session today and the activity of the STEM Alliance is basically the fact that Europe's economy is facing a continuous shortage of STEM professionals, and this has a significant impact on employment and productivity in related industries. So the demand for STEM professional and associated professionals is expected to grow by around 8% between now and 2025. So this means that today's societies really need more young people to pursue STEM subjects and careers to become part of the qualified workforce needed in Europe and beyond in the coming years. So for this, we need motivated, properly trained, and well-equipped STEM teachers to prepare and inspire the next generation of researchers and industry professionals. So the STEM Alliance initiative is tackling those fundamental societal challenges through the support of industry partners and ministries of education across Europe. The STEM Alliance brings together 14 companies, which, with the ministries of education represented by European Schoolnet, and we aim to help teachers to learn about the different STEM jobs and skills out there, and also to help encourage kids to see the benefits of STEM. So there are three main axes of activities in the STEM Alliance. The first one is to encourage STEM professionals for companies to go back to schools, but also to talk to teachers through online sessions like today. We have our two speakers. The second main axis of activity is to advance teacher discovery placement, so basically encourage teachers to spend some time in a company to update their skills and knowledge, and to have a better idea of what the real industry world works. And finally, the third axis is to build knowledge and to provide resources and training opportunities, most specifically to teachers. So how can schools benefit from the STEM Alliance? So as part of this third axis of activity that I just presented, so building knowledge and providing resources and training, we have STEM careers and skills of the future scheme of activities, and this webinar of today is part of it, and it's targeted at our teachers that are here from all across Europe today. Okay, now that I have given you some information about the STEM Alliance and the objective that we have, etc., I want to come back to my original question that I asked at the very beginning. So how can STEM education help inspire young people to pursue careers in those fields? And how can you help inspire this future generation of professionals? So today, you will already have some answer through this webinar. But now I would like to ask you another question. You as a teacher, what were your study and career paths? Did you study science and at the end you started to teach in primary or secondary school? Or did you go first to research in a university, or maybe you even work in a company? So basically when students think about their option after studying science, it is, or another field of STEM, it is common to say that the option will be either a teacher, like a good number of you today, or maybe a researcher in a university, or to go to work in an industry. And this is the type of stereotype that many students have nowadays. But it's important to help teachers and young people to get a glimpse of actual research and researchers, and to meet industry representatives and learn about the actual jobs that exist and see what other options exist in other countries. So this helps change the perception and open the minds to the endless possibility that exists out there for students in STEM careers. But let's be realistic. Not every kid wants to be an astronaut. So, but what about a career in the petrochemical industry? What types of careers are out there, and how can we explain what exists without discouraging anyone because of stereotypes? So I hope, and I'm really happy to introduce you to our two speakers a bit more in detail now. And the whole idea is that they will share some information about their own career path and study path, and speak about what the company are doing in STEM education. So Paul Ruigt, tell me, I hope it's fine, but you will be able to introduce yourself also. So you are from the Netherlands, and you studied industrial engineering and management science at the University in of Technology in Eindhoven. And in 2006, you graduated after completing your thesis at Meijknecht in the Netherlands again. And then you returned to your hometown and you joined the company SABIC, and you started working within the company procurement department. But you will tell us more about your career in a minute. So now I leave you the floor, and I will introduce the second speaker after. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, really well.
Very good. First of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity to join in this webinar. That's much appreciated. It gives me the opportunity to promote indeed STEM education, but on the other hand, it also gives me an opportunity to promote SABIC a bit, which is not irrelevant. I think I go to the next slide.
So you have the little arrows at the bottom left, and you can click on next. Are you able to?
Yeah. Got it. Okay,
Okay,
so let me
great.
first start. Who am I? So my name is Paul Ruigt. So your pronunciation was not too bad, I have to say. And currently I'm category manager for shipping and barging, which means that I'm responsible for the commercial contracts that we conclude with ship owners to carry around our products. And I am responsible for that for our liquids business unit, which means that we charter the tankers, or at least I'm responsible for the charter partners that we have in place for the tankers. And here you see one of the tankers which we have on hire for a longer term. We are proud of that ship. So I like this picture very much. And on the right you see a picture of mine standing on the bridge of that gas carrier that we have. Why am I showing this gas carrier? Well, actually, the shipping business obviously is also a very interesting business, I think, for people who have a technical background, because in the end, as you can see, perhaps all these pipelines on the ship, the tanks and all that, it's more or less like a kind of small manufacturing plant. That is what it is. So there's a lot of technology and innovation here shown on the picture as well. So I'm 35 years old. I grew up in the Netherlands, and as I said, responsible for the commercial contracts for about 5 million tons of product that we carry around, representing a spend of about 75 to 100 million euros. That's what I'm doing now. So what did I do to get there? Now, first of all, it started at my primary school about 30 years ago, and that was around the corner in Sittard. It was a 200 meters walk from where I lived, and that is where my school career started. Then, when I turned 13 years old, I continued my education at the secondary school, which is called Serviam Sittard, and that was around the corner of the primary school. So that was, I think, 300 meters or 400 meters from where I lived. And then, after finishing the secondary school, I started studying industrial engineering and management science at the Technical University in Eindhoven. And why did I start with that study? That is because during my secondary school, I learned that I was good actually at physics and chemistry and mathematics, but on the other hand, I also very much liked economics, and I really was interested always in also commercial things and business. So I decided not to go for the real hardcore engineering study like physics or chemistry or something like that. But I already made the decision to choose for a study which combines the two, technology on the one hand and business or economics, management science, how like they call it, and do that. And well, I like that also very much during my study, where I focused then more and more towards the end of the studies towards logistics, and I graduated specifically production or logistics in a production environment. So I graduated by designing a planning control model in a chemical production environment. Before I started my graduation in 2006, I went for half a year to the KTH, that's how they pronounce it in Sweden. It's the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, and as I said, in 2006 I graduated and I did my graduation thesis at a company called Unichema, and at that time that was part of ICI, a chemical production site in Gouda in the Netherlands. So as you can see, technology, but also process industry and chemical industry specifically has always been part of my school career. And then after my school career, obviously my working career started, and well, starting with where I live in Sittard, and around that city there is a beautiful countryside, and I liked my hometown and also the area around my hometown a lot. So apart from making a bit of promotion for SABIC and for STEM, I would also recommend you to visit the area in Southeast Netherlands when you get the opportunity. But a very interesting thing in this whole area is that there is this huge production site, a huge chemical production site in the middle actually of this beautiful scenery. And that production site is 5 miles from my home, and it always caught my interest since I was small and a young boy. It always caught my interest to see these factories, these steam crackers, and it developed my interest in technology. And at the time that I grew up, this site was mainly owned by the company called DSM. Perhaps many of you have heard of that company, and it was the petrochemical side of DSM, which they sold to SABIC in 2002-2003. And when I graduated in 2006, I decided that I wanted to work in that environment. So what I did is that I applied for a job, but because I was not the real hardcore engineer, again, like I would have been if I would have studied physics or chemistry or something like that, I decided to apply for a job in the head office, which is located in Sittard, the European head office of SABIC. And I started in a company procurement role, which is actually very little related to technology. But I wanted just to start working in this company and then see how my interest develops. After a couple of years working for the company procurement department, I recognized that I was a bit too far from the actual process and the actual, let's say, the heart of the organization, which is in the end producing plastics. Well, I had my study, my graduation direction was already in the area of logistics, so I decided in 2009 make the switch to the supply chain organization for our polymers department, that's the plastics department. And slowly I grew more and more towards, let's say, the physical flow of materials, and that's what I liked very much, the heart of the business in the end. I was demand chain coordinator for a couple of years, responsible for sales and operations planning as such, and I grew to a line manager position, where I led a team of 4 to 5 demand chain coordinators. And 4 years ago, or 4.5 years ago almost, I made the switch from that department to the chemicals department, where I started in my role as a category manager for shipping and barging. So as you can see, I'm working now almost for 12 years within SABIC, and about every 3 years I got the opportunity to switch jobs, and that's how that's where I am today as a category manager for shipping and barging. Why do I think STEM education is important for your career? First of all, scientific and technological innovations have become increasingly important. Not only if you look at product innovation, but also innovation in terms of our manufacturing plants, but as well in the logistics. Innovation has become more and more important. Imagine, for instance, the whole focus on sustainability, which is definitely also relevant for the petrochemical industry. That doesn't come easily. It requires a lot of innovation to get ships, for instance, sailing around the globe with less CO2 emissions, more efficient, and that requires innovation. And why? Where does this come from? Obviously from the guys, from the engineers, the guys and the girls with technical expertise. Large chemical companies like SABIC are largely technology driven. Of course, we are producing plastics where there is a lot of technology involved, but also you recognize that in the day-to-day environment, where you see many people, managers, high-level managers, who have a technical background. So many people studying chemistry or process technology and these kind of studies, people who have studied that do have a good chance to grow in a company which is largely technology driven. That gives them a good basis to further develop in the company. While many future challenges require technical solutions, as I already said, and that requires multidiscipline engineering work. And as I already was mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, there is a shortage of STEM skilled workers, and that is a threat to European industries, but also definitely for the European petrochemical industry, where SABIC is part of. We need people who make strategic, coordinating and creative decisions, supporting innovation. You need people who have a conceptual strength, think strategically and can combine things together. So it's not only the purely the mathematics or purely the chemistry. It is also combining all that to deliver a new product and to come up with new innovations. Companies like SABIC will require people with higher level skills to handle complicated process, and well, definitely it's not only the higher level skills, but it's also well, perhaps the lower level of technology education, but at least the people who are well crafted and have a high quality of technical background. But it's not only technical, it is more than that, and that is what will become clear also during STEM education. It is also about soft skills, interpersonal teamwork skills, and business economics. And I think a lot of technology education also puts attention to that and makes that part of a curriculum because it's definitely required to become successful in your future career. Well, finally, I think that whatever you are going to do, obviously there is a future for people who study technology and engineering, but you also need to like it, of course, and to love it. And if you follow your interest, you will definitely come to the best results. So if you're good at technology, if you're good at that, and you like it, well, then you have that's a good successful combination to become successful in your future career. Who are we? I'd like to use a bit of time to present who SABIC is and what we are doing. We are a global leader in chemicals. We are founded in 1976 in Saudi Arabia. SABIC stands for Saudi Arabian Basics Industries Corporation, and we are today we are about 35,000 people around the globe, spread over 50 different countries, and we have grown in about 42 years now. We have grown to the 4th largest global chemical company in the world, with an annual revenue of $35 billion. So we are a huge company producing chemicals in the world, and this is where we are located. Definitely the center of gravity of our company is still in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia specifically. That's where the global headquarters is. That's where the vast majority of our manufacturing and compounding companies is. But since 2002, when SABIC made the first steps out of the Kingdom Saudi Arabia by acquiring the DSM Petrochemicals business, made a step outside the kingdom into Europe, and then it went very fast by acquiring a couple of years later the former GE Plastics company. All of a sudden SABIC was present almost everywhere, and SABIC has high growth ambitions, and definitely within a couple of years we will be seeing more movements into Asia, into the US, and South America and Africa. So more and more investments and growth will be made. We are producing petrochemicals, plastics. We are producing specialties the higher end plastics, and we are also in the Kingdom Saudi Arabia producing agri-nutrients and a small piece of metals business. A small piece is still a big business, but compared to the petrochemicals and specialties business, that is much smaller. So that is a very brief overview of our company SABIC. If there are questions, obviously, about SABIC, or I hope to hear that later on. And then actually I wanted to hand over to my colleague, but she is at the other side of this country, and I'm not sure whether she can already speak up.
Okay, so you have a colleague that wanted to also present some part of the webinar?
Yeah, but I don't think she has a
microphone. Can you just tell us the name of the person?
So, Ingrid Schellens. Ingrid Schellens.
Okay, just to see. I see Ingrid.
Yeah, she is our
okay, HR, Ingrid. Just a moment. Good. Okay, so my colleague has given Ingrid. Normally, you should be able, so you should connect your audio, and you should be able to to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, a short introduction of myself. My name is Ingrid Schellens, and I'm working as a recruiter for the recruitment for SABIC Europe. And we do a lot of activities to activate our employer brand. Here you see an overview. For example, for high school students and bachelor and master students, we offer an intern program. Usually, they are visiting our company for a period of 6 months. And like example, it can be an internship in one of our manufacturing sites or our technology and innovation center, which is located in Geleen in the south of the Netherlands, or Barging op Zoom, the other location in the Netherlands, but also at one of the manufacturing sites like Geleen or Barging op Zoom, or in Spain, Cartagena, Gelsenkirchen, Germany, and Teesside in England. But also within supply chain or one of the other departments. Besides that, we also attend a Dutch network cooperation. It's called Meijknecht, and it's a cooperation between education, government, and companies in the Netherlands. And the aim and goal of this network is to give high school students information about science and technology, and to interest them in a science-related follow-up education. We also join regional job fairs. Our local HR business partners of the manufacturing sites will visit those job fairs. And from our recruitment department, we are very active in contacting study associations and organize lunch, lectures, and in-house days at our company. And we also visit job fairs in the Benelux with our recruitment team to interest bachelor but also master students. And here you see an overview of a few job fairs which we are attending. So yeah, we spend a lot of time to make students enthusiastic and give them more information about our company, and also to give them more insights about the career opportunities we have to offer. So that is my contribution. Back to Paul.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. Paul, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
No, well, actually, this was the slide,
Yes.
the last slide. So I think I hope that we had a good chance to give a very brief glance of what SABIC is and what exactly I have been doing within SABIC up till now. And obviously, if there is any questions, I hope to hear from you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will take all the we are collecting the question, and we will ask them at the end of the webinar if it's fine for you. If you can remain connected until the end. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So this was really interesting to have also the perspective from your colleague Ingrid from the human resources. Thank you very much for this information about careers as well. So we are going to move on now to the second speaker of our webinar tonight. So Jochem Meijknecht. You are commercial manager at LyondellBasell and responsible for commercial and operational activities in this company. So I'm not going to present further your exact position now because I guess you will talk about it in a minute. So without further delay, I give you the floor and you can start your presentation. My colleague will put it for you. And you can move the slide by yourself. You see the little arrows at the bottom left.
Good evening, everybody. I think indeed.
Maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Sorry, just to say that you will speak without a presentation. I think. Yes.
I think Paul had an excellent presentation already, and I think I would like to add a bit of my story to it, which is a bit of a different perspective, I think, versus the route that Paul took. I think our companies are relatively similar, but the route is in that sense different. So stepping back a little bit, indeed, ask as many questions as you can. I think it's good to have the interaction, and that is key. Let me start off with the fact that I think the chemical industry may not be the most sexy industry for people from secondary schools, but I have to say working in the chemical industry has been very, very exciting. Lots of very complex puzzles and lots of people needed who are able to solve these analytical puzzles, either from an operator perspective at the plants itself, or indeed from a more technical perspective as a process engineer, or from a business perspective using economics or even law. So I think the chemical industry itself has a very healthy future. We believe in the value that we add to society, and I think there are many exciting opportunities in the chemical industry. So I would like to start with that, is that we see that indeed it is about persuading people to enter into this industry, and I'm more than convinced that once they're in, a lot of people stay. Paul is, I think, a great testimony to that. 12 years already in the chemical industry, and at least I am fully enjoying myself. A bit of background from my perspective. I studied international relations in Groningen. International relations is a bit of a curriculum which is combined as a international law, international economics, and political science. So it's very much, I would say, at the soft side of the dimension at university. One of the reasons I started with this educational, with this bachelor's and eventually master's, is the fact that I like the multidisciplinary nature of this study, allowing multiple bases from where to solve topics and solve cases. After that university education, I moved as a position on oil and gas economics researcher at Klingendahl. Klingendahl is the Natural Institute for International Relations, which is a bit of a network organization, and they have an energy department. essentially contributing economic research in the oil and gas industry. Been doing that for 3 years, and during that 3 years I noticed that my, let's say, hard skills, calculation skills, economics, finance skills, I could use that a bit more. So entered into a finance master, did that for 2 years part-time next to work, and was able successfully to combine, say, the insights from political science and international law with corporate finance skills, competencies. Spent a short 6 months at mergers and acquisitions at Bank of America Merrill Lynch, based in Amsterdam at that moment in time, so investment banking. But thought after that 6 months, working in a company where they have tangible assets, where you could actually see what is produced and actually see the plants, for me was very important. I think finance can be very inspiring and interesting, but it's paper, it's pieces of paper and calculation sheets. And I had the feeling, or I had the need at least, to go to an environment whereby you could see tangible what was happening. So I moved into Vopak, which is a tank storage operation company, one of the leading industry or globally leading third-party tank storage companies, as an analyst for a market analyst. So combining my financial and economic skill set in order to create value for the sales departments at Vopak. Very happy there, but got recruited for an analyst job at LyondellBasell, looking at global product flows for one of our divisions. That was 4 years ago, and I spent 2 years as a global analyst supporting our global director on one of the products in order for growth projects and CEO presentations. And 2 years ago I moved into a commercial job, the current job I'm currently having as a commercial manager, propylene for Europe. So managing the flows of our propylene flows that we have in Europe. So what does that mean? We have production sites where we produce propylene, and we have around 14 consumption sites whereby we use propylene. And as a result, we have purchase contracts and sales contracts attached to this infrastructure, and I'm responsible for these contracts and all the value that's attached to it, which means around 35 contracts with a, depending on the oil price, around an annual value of 2 to 3 billion that flows through our system from a propylene perspective. What I find very interesting about these type of challenges is that it's a wide system of plants. In total, we're operating with around 18 plants, and every day it's a big puzzle. As Paul would probably agree, you have a plan on paper, and then there's bad weather, and then you can throw your original plan in the bucket and start all over again. And it's a constant puzzle in how to optimize things. So that's a bit of my career path. I've joined until now. I've been working now for 8 years. Joined 3 companies in total. Fully enjoyed myself. Really coming from a finance, international relations type of background, and spending now 4 years in the chemical industry. It makes visible for me that there's a great future for people who are engineers. I think I have to be very humble that I work with a lot of engineers, and they're extremely smart people. Especially a STEM background, so this is a bit of a promotion for STEM education, which I didn't have. I can still remember my dad pushing me into more science-oriented career path when I was in secondary school. I chose a different route, but what I do see is that people in chemical industry who are engineers are more capable in handling, I think, the complex challenges, technology versus, say, the business, in order to create value for the company. I work with a lot of the senior managers that I am working with are engineers, but also a lot of, obviously, the key operators at our plants are also have engineering backgrounds. In total, I would say that around 80% of the opportunities we have in our company are related to have a background in STEM education, and around only 20% have of our jobs have a background that I could be eligible for. Obviously, these are rough numbers, but it just shows that that if you have if you have good brains and you have a background in STEM education or STEM type of education background, there's absolutely no question you should be able to be successful in companies that Paul and I work for. A bit of a promotion, I would say, for LyondellBasell. LyondellBasell, like SABIC, is very active in the petrochemical sector. We are also one of the leading companies in that respect, working with 13,000 colleagues and around that amount of contractors at our sites. Every day we try to work as safe as we can and create as much value as we can for ourselves, but also downstream for our customers. And increasingly, we're also looking at obviously the societal effects that our companies have. So recently, we moved into a joint venture, QPC, which will create plastics out of recycled material together with Suez. We're very proud to be able to use this joint venture for future growth. So that means we don't only look at at pure business value and what we look today, but we increasingly, I think that's shared among the industry, start looking at how we can also solve a couple of the items that give the petrochemical industry a bad reputation, and one of that is obviously waste and plastic waste. So I think again, I come from a very different route. I still think from a business perspective, you can be from the education that I had, you can be very successful, but the basis you create with STEM education type of backgrounds is extremely powerful. And if you are able to combine that with a solid business top-up, so let's call it a MBA, for instance, at a later moment, but having your engineering background is an extremely powerful tool to be very successful in the petrochemical industry. With that, I would like to give the floor to everybody who has questions or for other discussions.
Okay, thank you very much both for your presentation. So there were some questions posted in the chat by the participant. So I'm going to start with a question for Paul, which was basically what should a teacher teach in class to prepare the students for a career in a company like SABIC, for example. So what are some recommendations you would give to teachers on important skills or important, even if it's soft skills, not only STEM skills, but important skills that are usually companies are looking for when hiring people? Or maybe, or to Ingrid as well, as you prefer.
I have to unmute. Am I? Do you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, that is a very specific question, and actually, as I said, we are the fourth largest chemical company in the world. 35,000 people are working within SABIC. So, what is required to work at SABIC is very difficult to answer, because we need many many people with various backgrounds. That's clear. Huh? So obviously we are talking about STEM education in this webinar, and as was already explained also by Jochem, a lot of people working within SABIC do have that technical background, but it is not the only thing that is required. It is also about building up it's also about building up your soft skills, business background, economics background. It's about learning about languages. In a multinational company, you need to speak your languages. So it is very difficult to answer what teachers should give in class, but what I hope to give from here, what I hope to, what I can promote at least is indeed make sure that your students become interested in technology, and show to them that there is a future for them if they choose for that. Just as an example, we have gone through a restructuring process a couple of years ago. It was, I think, 2013, because of the very difficult economic situation at that time. There was quite a lot of people who had to leave the company, unfortunately. But there was one department which actually grew even in that period. So there were no people fired from that department, and that was technology and innovation, or you can call it research and development. And that shows how important companies like SABIC, how important they think about, how they value innovation and technical development and development of products and all that. And that is specifically an area where you need high quality engineers. Again, there is a future for these technical people, and I think that's the main thing that teachers should promote. There's a future for technology.
Thank you for your answer to this. Not such an easy question, I have to say, I agree. But I think it's really important also for teachers to hear about the variety of career paths existing in this kind of industry sector. So now I have a question for Jochem, and basically it's, so you have studied finance and economics, and you have strong skills in problem solving, for example, but do you consider your career as a STEM career, and if yes, why, basically?
Jeanette, thank you for your question. I think in short, no. My background is absolutely not a STEM background. So what you do see is that from a couple of hardcore technical discussions that we sometimes have in our company, I cannot participate. It's very simple as that. So I bring different type of skill sets into the company. However, what I do notice is that the key majority, or the majority of the people who are joining in our company do have a technology background, and are able to contribute on a variety of levels in technology and R&D. Maybe to add what Paul also said, I think I fully agree with him. We obviously the economy knows cycles, and we've had our downturn like everybody had. And I think we have a big science and R&D center in Ferrara, for instance, in Europe, where we do a lot of innovation on polypropylene. as one of the key plastics that people use. And actually, Ferrara grew. It's the same story as Paul said. I think there's a continued hunger in our industry for innovation, because we know that innovation adds value, especially in the long term. So indeed, I don't think it's without doubt that there's a good future for people who are bright and have a good technology background and have a good engineering background. And if you are able to supplement that with people, say for instance with my background, I think you have from a team perspective, you have a very complete set of skills in which you can be successful as a big company. So I also agree with Paul on the fact that you say, on the one hand, the basis is indeed STEM education background, and that combined with interpersonal skills, because from people with different backgrounds, I think that's a very powerful combination.
Okay. Thank you very much for your answer. We have a question also for Ingrid related to the information you provided. And basically, one of the participants wanted to know what are the study associations you mentioned, and if schools are included in these programs. I don't know if Ingrid, you are still connected. Yes, I see you. Okay, I'm not sure Ingrid is able to connect her microphone again.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yes,
understand if I did hear the question about the study association. That is a group of yeah. It's a group of students of a university, and they are studying the same study, like example, chemistry or physics, and they organize a lot of
we lost you, unfortunately.
And they also have a lot of connections with company, and we sponsor those kind of associations, and I'm sorry?
Yes, no, it's just that the connection was a bit, there was a cut, but I think we could hear, yeah. So that it's mainly targeted at university students studying chemistry, if I heard well. Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
Yes, indeed, or physics, and we sponsor those. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't think we have any additional question for now, but it's almost 6:30 basically, so we are going to finish this webinar. So I see that I think that there is a question to both speakers, so if you can briefly answer this for the so what are the biggest challenge in your jobs, basically? From a personal perspective, would be nice to hear. We can start with Paul, maybe, and then Jochem.
The biggest challenge in my job, it is actually to focus on long-term projects on the one hand, and then being distracted by operational problems on the other hand. Jochem also already made a reference to bad weather. Well, I'm in shipping, and as soon as it is bad weather, shipping is being impacted by that, and by impacting the shipping of our cargoes. Also the uninterrupted process or the operation of our shore facilities is also impacted, and that can have huge financial consequences. And if something happens like that, if we see unforeseen issues in the shipping business, then that always gets focus, and you need to drop everything that you are working on and focus on the operational things. And I think that is something that is a challenge in my in my role, at least. And the other thing, which I think is also relevant to take into account for students, is that you will learn when you grow older and you have your career that it's also about the balance between your private life and work. And I can tell you, with 2 young kids at home, that can always be a challenge as well.
Okay. I think that's really interesting, and so if I understand well from what you said, so there needs to be quite flexible and able to move from one type of task to another, and long-term objective to more like operational and short-term objective, which is quite important for this type of, thank you. Jochem, maybe you can share also from your side what is a bit like the biggest challenge in your position?
Well, now it starts to get a bit boring, because indeed I think Paul and I share the same long-term versus short-term challenges. Apart from the short-term and the long-term, I think that one of the key things that we, at least that's my personal feel in petrochemical companies, is that there's a relatively conservative approach versus change. And I think what is needed is that we have young, inspirational people who are able to change also routes of companies. And the puzzles are only getting more complex. They're not getting a lot easier. And that is a great challenge for people who are joining these companies. That increasingly they're getting respected for the way their generation and our generation thinks. We think in scenarios, we think away from tangible items, away from plants, but into more web type based of environments. And that is something that at this moment in time the chemical industry is getting used to more and more. So we need to fuel that momentum, say with young people who are able to do that. So I think they'll find say the chemical industry very challenging, but a very in the end a very receptive place to work in order to let loose of all their creative ideas and of their especially analytical skills. No doubt about that.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'm going to ask a last question to Paul, and after that we will conclude this webinar. So, Paul, what made you interested in such a study path, and did you meet any role model that particularly inspired you before choosing this study path?
No, it's not that I met a role model. I think what has been inspiring to me is, as I explained during my presentation already, is that that's a production facility that was close to our hometown. That triggered the interest in chemical industry. And I think what happens during your school career is that at a certain moment you appear to be good at certain things, and what you're good at you start to like, and what you start to like you start to become good at, and so it is a combination of the two, which then makes you decide to go a certain route. As I explained, at a certain moment it was technology on the one hand, and it was economics on the other hand, and I couldn't really choose. So I decided to go for the combination of the two, and that's why I chose for this industrial engineering and management science studies.
Okay, thank you very much. So once again, I would like to thank our two speakers of today. Thank you for sharing your experience and your personal study path, and sharing also your advices and tips with the teacher that were connected today. So I would like also to inform you that we will share the recording of this webinar. So if you would like to share this webinar recording with some colleagues, you will have the opportunity to do it. Another outcome that we will have out of this webinar are some resources that we encourage teachers to use in class, which will be career sheets that will give more information about the specific career path that we heard about today. So we will provide some details about the skills needed and a lot of other information that are useful if you want to be able to give some career advice to your students. So thank you all for your participation, and you can keep posted on the STEM Alliance portal for our future activities. So the next activity will be on 26th of March, and it will be a chat discussion. So have a good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.